What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with a new review. This time I'm doing a movie review. I just finally watched Mad Max Fury Road. And I have to say, props to George Miller. My God. It's about time someone did something completely different, you know? But before I get into it's really just my thoughts. I don't feel like really doing a review because, I mean, what else is there to say? It's a masterpiece. Freaking George Miller knows his craft. His characters were awesome. The narrative was fucking intense. It did not let up for a second. It was beautiful. Cinematography was insane. I was like, wow, how did he make the desert super beautiful and interesting, you know? And it felt like a character all on its own. But what I do want to say is there were a lot of things in the film that, like, if you're, a denizen of the internet, you've heard all the praise, and it was like it was unanimous. And I'm not a fan of the whole Wasteland Warrior thing, and the original Mad Max was not that good of a movie. Neither was the second one, and Thunderdome is kind of like that was the one I liked of the bunch, and even that's questionable when it comes to like quality films. You know what I mean? But everybody all of a sudden is trying to act like the Mad Max films were just like these standout, beautiful films that were just awesome. Nah, there were all kinds of problems with the story, with consistency, with uh, gratuitous this, that, and the third, and just weird, outright, just crazy shit that not everyone actually got. I'm admitting that I didn't get a lot of the stuff that was going on until I watched the movie like, 5 or 6 times. So, and that's over, the 36 years I've been alive. So the first Mad Max, the first Road Warrior or Mad Max, whatever. The first movie in the bunch sucks ass. I'm not even gonna lie, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's boring. The only reason why you would watch it is to find out how Max started on his journey. What drove him crazy? What made him the way it is? How did it go down? Um, Besides that, the movie's just kind of it's forgettable. I guess that's the best way to put it. I shouldn't say it just sucks. It's just forgettable. And that's like my big gripe with these films is they're not cinematic masterpieces the way that Fury Road is. Now Fury Road is a masterpiece because not only is it like a fucking amazing piece of action cinema, it comes in at a time where action films have gotten soft. Everything is about getting, the studios just want to get butts in the seats. So everything is PG-13. So the action can't be as hardcore as it should be to get fans of the genre to come see their shit. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you grew up watching like really wild action films, you're gonna always feel a little bit out of the loop or a little bit kind of disappointed in modern action films because they don't take any chances. Everything is so watered down and so like just soft, and it doesn't really feel like the pedigree that we should be getting from American action films or just action films in general. Now, one thing I will say that this movie didn't do that it probably could have gotten away with is it wasn't. I don't think it was rated R, which was strange because all the others except for Thunderdome, if I'm not mistaken, they're all rated R. So the violence is a little bit up. It's ramped up, and the some of the crashes and the just the content is just kind of more mature. I remember not really enjoying the films because of the amounts of people getting strung up. I think one or two of them had rape scenes, and it just was like a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it was like I'm not really digging this like pure lawlessness with no equalizer when it comes to justice. So fast forward to today, and we get Fury Road. I wanted to wait until all the hype had died down before I checked it out because I'm sick of hype ruining films for me. So, I waited and I waited and I waited, and I finally checked it out. And I thought that it was actually an amazing film. The thing I wanted to point out, though, with what I just started saying just a few seconds ago or minutes ago, is that there were things in the movie that were just stupid. That like if this was a superhero film, everybody would be like, it's just a stupid, mindless action film and blah blah blah. No one said anything about these things, like the baby milk, you know, the mama's milk, um, like Nathan Jones' character, his line, "I had a baby brother, and he was perfect, perfect in every way." Like the fuck. Like, I mean, I literally had to start laughing when he said that. They're like, "Yeah, he would have been your baby brother. He was pretty perfect, perfect in every way, except for the fact that he's dead because he got run over by a fucking truck." Um, there were just little things, you know. The War Boys, they were really stupid. They did cool shit though. I'll give them that. Like all I could think of while I was watching so many of these car chases was the dreadnoughts. Like that's the level of crazy that the dreadnoughts need to be, but they need to be doing that shit on streets, like our streets, you know, so that it's like holy shit. Um, there were other things like the names of certain characters. What did she call him? Uh, wow, what was it called? A gear boy or something like that? Are you a gear boy? She said, and it was just like these dated, like you could, even though it's the future and it's post-apocalyptic and shit like that. These names and these you know, Immortan Joe. The name even sounds stupid. Um, it sounded like 80s stuff, you know, like 80s characters, and I mean they technically are. Um, but you know, I this is not a criticism on the film itself. My criticism comes with the people's uh, uh, reception of these things. If these things showed up in something else, everyone would have said it was stupid. More people would have said it was stupid. Um, but it shows up in this, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's cool." Even Furiosa. Furiosa sounds like a freaking spell from uh, Harry Potter or something. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Wingardium Furiosa. Like, it sounds like some shit that they would say in Harry Potter, but everybody bought it and didn't say anything. And this is not a fault of the writers or, you know, the actors or whatever. It's well acted. The movie's well acted. I freaking love uh, Charlize Theron. Like a lot of, I don't know if I've mentioned this. There, I have a handful of people. You know how in most relationships you mention like, if these stars ever came at me in the, you know, the moi moi, I want to see you, you know, you need to come with me to the bedroom type situation or let's go out situation, I can't say no. Um, Charlize Theron is on that list. Salma Hayek is on that list. Rosario Dawson is on that list, and I think there's like one other one that I can't remember right now. But I I love Charlize Theron. She's just like, for whatever reason, she's just one of the dopest actresses out there, and that's it's not her look, it's not her background, it's just the fact that she makes you believe whatever it is that she is, whoever it is she's playing. Like when she was on Arrested Development and she's playing that mentally challenged character, you believe it. She feels like she really is a kid in an adult's body essentially, and this is the limit of her intelligence, and for real, this is what's going on, you know? And you believe it. When she was in Monster, you believe it. When she was in Hancock, and the movie wasn't even that great, you still believed some of what was going on, even though her character was so like strangely written. So I was sold with Furiosa. I was like, yep. Even though I do feel that the movie should have been called Furiosa, because she seemed like the movie was focused. It was her journey, and Mad Max just happened to show up in it. Um, she's the only person next to Nux, I think his name is, um, that had a she Nicholas Holt's character was Nux. Um, those two have an arc, whereas Max is just rabid dog, just running around from, you know, mission to mission, you know, surviving from piece to piece. That's pretty much what he does. But there were a lot of things. Just, you know, I guess I can get off of my criticism of the fans, because fans have been really inconsistent with what works and what doesn't work. Because there's goofy things in here that have the same level of, there's characters in here that have the same level of character development that we've seen in superhero films that have just passed, you know, in the last couple of years. But in that film, in those superhero films, people dissed the shit out of the movie, saying that, oh, there wasn't enough character development. This movie is like barely any, because it's just action scene to action scene to action scene, and there's a little bit of exposition, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a couple conversations to let you know what's going on, and the rest you have to put together for yourself, the 5 seconds of information that you got. You know what I mean? And I like that because I grew up watching action films, so I don't need backstory all day long. So I got that. But what I'm saying is that the public seemed to, because everybody accepted this film, they gave this film a pass. And this is what they always do, so it's not a surprise. They gave all these things a pass in this movie, but then when these same things showed up in other films, because everybody didn't like those films, or enough people didn't like those films, they dissed the shit out of those movies. And I think it's annoying, and it's inconsistent logic. It's inconsistent reviewing for those reviewers who followed suit, and it needs to stop. Because really, how can you judge and gauge how well a movie was made if your meter is all over the place like that? You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're an action junkie like me, like, I love movies, but my genre is martial arts and action. And this movie was like a dream. You're just watching this insane fucking, you know, Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner type shit go on for almost 2 hours. And it's so well shot, it's well paced. You were always put in the center of the action when the action was actually heating up. You know, you have the God view as you see things unfold, but as the action starts to, you know, move, you're right there. You're right up under everything. You can actually see everything that's going on, and I thought that was fucking amazing. You know, all the times when they're falling off of the rig and falling near the wheels, and the camera is like somewhere in between the wheels looking dead at the action, or right in front of the person hanging in front of the wheel. You always felt like you're right up on top of the danger, which is old school directing, you know? A lot of old Hong Kong films have that kind of feel to it. It's visceral as fuck, where like shit happens and you fall with the person, or you run with the person, and you're right next to them when they take a kick to the head, or, you know, a car accident, and you're on the dashboard watching the person hit the fucking, you know, windshield. That kind of stuff is what I like. It's visceral. It helps tell the tale. You understand this is not the kind of world that, you know, fucking Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star is going to show up and beat the shit out of everybody. Like, this is not that world. Even though Fist of the North Star is a really blatant ripoff of Mad Max, inserting a Bruce Lee-ish martial artist. But still, there's no superheroes in this world. Everybody is just, you know, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on and cling on to their humanity as best they can. And you have the skills that you have, and you got to make do against all manner of fucking insanity. Immortan Joe, cool villain based on the look and the idea. There wasn't a lot to him. But you were given enough information from the moment that you see him that you know this guy is the man in charge. He has everything. He's gross, but he's got multiple wives. He's controlling the water. He's got all the breast milk. He had all those fat chicks that were freaking pumping the milk into his supply. It was just weird. He has the war boys under his control that he, you know, the ones that are sick, or maybe radiation poisoning, they're getting blood transfusions from people who he could find who have certain blood types and shit like that. Like, this is the man, essentially. And you understand that because everybody's crazy, there's different levels of, you know, wrong or right. It's not 100% this guy's good, this guy's bad. It's just, in this instance, this thing is worse than that thing, you know? So like all these gangs exist. I mean, you do get the feeling that certain groups are, the good guys, you know. Um, what were they called? The mothers, the many mothers, or something like that. There, you could tell they were kind of just regular folks. Um, but yeah, Morton Joe, if he were in a superhero film, all of the internet would say he is a one-dimensional character with no backstory. Very, he just wanted to do what he wanted to do, you know, and that's it. But in this film, for some reason, everybody's like, "Oh yeah." I mean, if I believe it's bandwagoning, but you can call it what you want to call it. I still think he works because, like I said before, not every character needs a shitload of backstory. A lot of times less is more, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of action movies that I love, and I think are classics where the villain, it's literally like maybe he explains to you what his problem is and why he's so evil, or maybe it's a flashback, or maybe someone else talks about it in the movie, and it's never really gone over again. It's established that this person is crazy because this person is crazy, um, and that's cool. I have no problem with that. Um, Furiosa, such a badass character. Such a badass character. An Imperator. Just that title is badass. In a world where people are constantly struggling to figure out how to properly portray a female, hero, a heroine in modern society, and not make her, a Mary Sue, and not make her a feminist, like a piece of feminist propaganda. You have Furiosa, who, once again, just like Sarah Connor, just like Ripley, she just is a female who happens to be in a situation where she has to do heroic shit. You know, she's fed up with the establishment and she's breaking off from it. You know, and I like that, and it's that simple. All this talk about the movie being feminist propaganda. Um, if you lived under tyrannic rule and you had the opportunity to break away from it, you would. So, all you geniuses that just, or as ODC, that's me, would say, these 30-second geniuses that swear they know everything and act like they would have the perfect answer and the perfect reaction to everything, just don't talk. You know what I mean? Think first. Like Spirit said in an episode of G.I. Joe, mouth works best when used with brain. Um, some situations you just get fed up with it and then you have to fight back. Sometimes fighting back could be just making the decision to leave. There's different levels of, warfare or of dealing with things, and sometimes you've been programmed and you fight back against the programming by making a decision to get out of the situation, and she did that, and it was noble, and she was just badass the whole time, and it was awesome to see. Max was cool because exactly what he says in the beginning of the film, that he's a man distilled down to one instinct: survival. That's exactly what you saw. Literally, he made choices based on what would allow them to survive the next couple minutes or the next couple days or whatever. Everything he did, except for at the very end when he was thinking of the other people's survival, and they decided to go back to the Citadel, um, because that was the only place they saw that had green and had water and resources, et cetera, et cetera. Um, that was the only time that he didn't do. He didn't make a decision based on his own survival. He made the decision based on their survival. Um, but Tom Hardy did a great job. I mean, it's established. Hardy is a good actor. He's a really good actor. None of his roles seem the same. And I was just explaining this to ODC the other night when we were talking about movies and um, good actors, because we were talking about who we thought should play the next Wolverine. And I was talking about Justin Theroux. I think that's his name. Um, he was in Charlie's Angels. That's what I remembered him from. Uh, he was the stocky dude. You know what I mean? Like he looked like a soccer hooligan, sort of. I think that's his name, Justin Thoreau. Yeah, that's his name. Um, anyway, he's been in so many movies, and I didn't realize that he was in those movies because he didn't feel like the same character he was in anything. I mean, in Charlie's Angels, he had an accent, like a Scottish accent or something. In Your Highness, he was like whiny, and he didn't look muscular, and his clothes covered up a lot, and he just looked smarmy. Um, in I don't know, there were all these movies that I'd seen him in where he just didn't feel. I didn't realize he was in there until we had that conversation. And what I was saying is the mark of a good actor is a guy who gets lost in the role to some degree where you can't even tell that it's the same guy, you know? If you want to, people always say Denzel and DiCaprio are such awesome actors, but like the majority of their roles, they feel like the same guy. You know, sometimes Sam Jackson falls into this where he feels like he's the same guy. Um, Tom Hardy, even though a lot of times he looks the same, just think of him from Bronson to now. All those roles, he seems like a different guy. I'm not saying he's the best actor in the world, but he's pretty damn good. His weird, like, fucking caveman voice for Max was pretty awesome. I like that. Um, there were a lot of random people in the movie. The wives were pretty cool because they were women of action, even though they were in a situation where they were in captivity. When they broke away, they decided like we got to do something. Um, Rosie Huntington Whiteley, I think that's how you say her name, from Transformers, Dark of the Moon fame. I mean, before that, she's a fucking Victoria's Secret model. She is a pretty decent actress. A lot of people give her shit because of the role they had put her in the past, but like seeing her in this, it was like, wow, she was just as good as some of the other folks. You know, she can be used in other capacities than just eye candy. You know, um, I think that girl, the mixed girl, was Lenny Kravitz, Zoe Kravitz. That's her name. I was about to say Lenny Kravitz's daughter. Um, she was awesome. I don't have any problems with her. She she seemed very can do, and all her delivery was believable, and it felt like it fit the situation. Nothing felt how do I put this? Nothing felt forced. Yeah, it was Zoe Kravitz. Um, Nicholas Hoult was believable. He always is pretty believable. I would say always, but a lot of times he's serviceable. You know, Nux was pretty cool because he went from being one of the villains who was blindly following a lifestyle that he was obviously brought up into to learning that there's other things. I like the way relationships were handled. Nobody had time to screw. You know, when you watch old action films, that's one criticism I've always had, especially in the 80s. They could be being chased by fucking the Cthulhu and they would have time to screw. And you're like, this is not the time for that. You need to wait till that motherfucker's in pieces and there's no coming back, and then you can bone till the cows come home. But you know, they wouldn't do that. And usually that would be, it either plays, if it's a horror movie, it plays into the death of a character. If it's an action film, it was just gratuitous. There's your TNA, you know what I'm saying? But in this, they didn't even go down that road, which is pretty nice because it doesn't seem like the type of world where once you are in the sights of an enemy, that you can just, you know, dip behind this tree and, you know, screw because they won't see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like when you're on the radar of the wrong people, you kind of stay there until you're not, if that makes any sense. You have to make yourselves no longer on the radar. So I was happy about that. And they showed levels of like how the relationship starts, like with Nux and the redhead of the wives. They she just was compassionate. You know what I mean? She saw a different way, whereas he only saw the war boy way because that's what he was taught. I like the way they handled that, and the fact that he didn't just magically live, even though he was put in situations where it was like there's, you know, they hinted towards all these. They kept giving that look. You know what I'm talking about? The walk away and then you look over your shoulder at the person, which is usually it's a nod that or a sign You're about to die. That character who got looked at is about to die, or the character who's walking away is going to get something's going to happen to them too. He died a heroic death, which was cool. Um, most of the villains just were batshit crazy. The fucking guitar dude was awesome. Um, People were like, "That's for no reason." It's just like, they had war drums, so it fit along with that. Or like a what is the guy? The guy that plays the bugle. It's the same kind of situation. When you see old like Revolutionary War, reenactments and stuff. There's always horns and drums. That's what you had there, and it worked. I had no problems with it. Overall, the movie is just great. If you're an action fanatic, you will love this movie. There's just so much to love. I mean, and I have to go back and talk about the music because Tom Holkenberg did the damn thing, Junkie XL. And, it's funny because, like, the music is what made me even go to watch this film. I had heard that the movie was good. I had heard snippets on YouTube of certain tracks. There's a guy, Premium Extensions, who did like an extended version of the track Brothers in Arms. It's the track that plays, it's cut up throughout the movie, but it does play almost in its entirety. Actually, it is in its entirety during the final big chase, when they're fighting on the rig and fighting, jumping from car to car. And it plays a little bit in the first big chase, but it plays in its entirety during the final, chase, and the one before that with the when they go through the pass the first time and the motorcycle dudes, when Furiosa goes to drop off the gasoline for or gasoline for the those motorcycle guys, and then they say they see all these war parties coming. Um, it plays during that chase as well. But Junkie XL, it makes me happy because, like, I'm a big electronica guy. I've been listening to electronica since I was in grade school. Um, it was perfect because, you do martial arts. That was kind of the music with the right tempo that went with your martial arts. And then you had a lot of films in the 90s that chose to use electronic music to accentuate the action, the most famous being The Matrix. Blade did it, and Blade actually had Junkie XL in his score or soundtrack. It was featured in the film. Junkie XL is awesome because it's it's an artist I grew up with. My favorite group is Prodigy, or The Prodigy. But Junkie XL, Chemical Brothers, Fatboy Slim, a lot of those guys, Crystal Method, those were all guys that I listened to a lot because those were guys they would become kind of the big names, but we listened to them back when you would just get them on compilations, and then you get their albums whenever they pop up because, the guys are so fucking drugged out that, like, you just get their music when it's available. I mean, they weren't all like Tom Oakenfold or Armand von Helden. I know I probably just butchered their names, but you get where I'm coming from. You guys know who I'm talking about if you know who I'm talking about. But the thing about Junkie XL is that he grew, like much like the RZA, Wu-Tang Clan. Like it or not, love them or hate them, the group stagnated while the RZA actually started to transcend genre and started to get better in his understanding of music. That's why he's worked with like everybody, and he respects. You can tell the dude just likes music, and he probably liked, probably was hardcore into the hip hop stuff because the rest of his boys were. So he seemed like that was the beginning and the end for him, when in reality he had envisioned doing so much more, and that's what I dug about the RZA. Junkie XL, he kind of similar thing. He started out doing purely electronic stuff. It was like dance more because the beats were more like, dance beats, And he did some stuff, kind of harder sounding stuff. Then he did some more mellow sounding stuff. And then he had a commercial phase. And then he disappeared. Then you heard him in, he did a remix for God of War 2. Then he popped back up again in movie scores. Like I would find tracks that were remixed by him, but I didn't know that the music in the film was done by him. Like many people don't know, he did music for Man of Steel. there's a specific snare that you hear or drum section that you hear in movies that if you hear this, he did it. You know, it's like a da 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 da. You always hear it. It's crazy drum sections. It's in 300 Rise of Empire. It's definitely in the War Pigs remix that he did. Um, it's in Run All Night. It's in Mad Max in multiple places. It's in the Batman versus Superman score. It's in what's the other one that I didn't even realize it was him. My God! But anyway, you get the picture. He's done a lot, and I didn't even like run the gamut. He did the music for Black Mass, love it or hate it. Um, he's done a lot. You know, I'm just naming off things that pop up at the top off the top of my head, but he has been around and he's done a lot, and there's a lot of growth, even though he puts things in there that are his signature, and that's what I love. A good artist is capable of signing his pieces with these tiny little details that if you know what you're looking for, you will notice. And the tempo, the speed, the emotion, and then it's all wrapped up in like this badass, like just badassery. That's the best way I could describe it. It just helps make everything that much more exciting, that much more visceral, especially in this case for Mad Max, because I mean that's all Mad Max is. It's fucking Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, put through fucking cocaine, acid, freaking like every hard drug you can imagine, and then wrapped in badassery. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of insanity, a lot of craziness, a lot of moments where certain characters have to be badass in order to survive, and then the music perfectly conveys that. If I didn't tell you what the movie was about and you listen to the score, you will get that from the score. Good scores can tell the story without words, you know what I mean? Or visuals. So, Tom Holkenberg, that's what you've probably seen his name in different places. Tom Holkenberg is Junkie XL. And Homeboy has come up. Oh, he did Deadpool's score as well. Homeboy has come a long fucking way. His music is just so damn good. And it was like the icing on the cake for this film. I mean, I said it before, I'm saying it again. The score is flawless. It's fucking godlike when it comes to action films. Because a lot of action films, it's like they spend all their money on the stunts and the people in the film, and sometimes the marketing, and then the music is just kind of meh. It's just there, and it just bookends the film. Whereas this was one of those ones that it just pushed everything up. And it's funny because, there are guys like Brian Tyler, and another favorite of mine that people give a lot of shit to is Henry Jackman. I love his music. Most of the movies, even the shitty movies, I like the music he does. Another guy I like a lot is, what is the dude's name? He did The Last Stand, and he did the Bourne movies. Is Ottman? Let me look it up real quick because I have all those scores sitting right here. He does such fucking good music, and he uses a lot of John Powell. Actually, that's his name. John Ottman did the Superman Returns, which wasn't bad, but it just wasn't that great. Powell, what's his name again? Shit, my brain. Yeah, John Powell is one of those who I thought was going to be bigger than he is. You know what I mean? Like, for some odd reason, he didn't really take off. I'm getting besides myself, but he didn't pop off the way I expected after the Bourne, after he did shit. Didn't he do music for like Shrek? He did. He's in Harry Gregson Williams' camp, and he has a very distinct style that's good, and I'm surprised it didn't go further. But anyway, Junkie XL was unexpected because I didn't think he was even gonna come up and like blow some of those guys out of the water, and he does. Not to say that any one composer is like 1,000% better than any of the others. They all have their strengths, but the music by Tom Holkenberg, aka Junkie XL, is pretty fucking phenomenal. It's like the kind of music that, when you have these frantic dreams, if you are one of those people who have action movie dreams where you're the hero and you're on a frantic mission to save someone or something or everything, this is what you want as the music. I know I have those dreams because I write those kind of stories. I come up with that kind of shit. When I visualize an awesome action sequence, is something along these lines. You know, at the time you can't verbalize it because it's very hard to verbalize some of this music. I mean, you can sit there and hum it, but you don't necessarily like. I don't know what instruments would be doing what, and I have knowledge, you know, musical knowledge. It's just at the time I just know what I want it to sound like, you know, and this is what I would like the sound, you know, this is the sound I would imagine. This hardcore, somewhat electronic, bombastic, aggro, driving, pulsing, you know, beat while we have like, you know, the good orchestral parts, you know, the heartfelt orchestral parts to drive the emotion. So anyway, I have gone on long enough about this movie. Go see it if you haven't already seen it. It's been out for a grip. Shit, it's on DVD and Blu-ray now, so you can just go buy it and enjoy it at your house or watch it online if you have to. You know, I'm a definite proponent of watching shit online so that you can see if you like it and then go buy it. You know, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. It's like going over to your friend's house, watch a movie, and if you like it, then you turn around and you go and you buy it. So, you know, however you come across it and watch it. It's worth it. George Miller deserves our support because he is one of those anomalies in the industry that we need to get some more shit from him, more good shit, because he gets it. And a lot of Hollywood does not. And we need him to be an example along with other guys. So, yeah, that's it for me. You've been great, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace outside.